right,
Who
folks.
was that?
Was that Monique again?
Remer,
I can't tell.
Orthodox Jew and unorthodox passion for the Second Amendment, dispelling the notion that all Jews are anti-gun. Yehuda is known as Pew Pew Jew. Hey, we are so proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing nationwide network of 2A advocates, offers elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors, and they provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. You can learn a whole lot more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. Michael.
So there is a website out there called thepewpewjew.com. The Pew Pew Jew began as a fun moniker that was given to Yehuda Remer, an Orthodox Jew, by some of his non-Jewish friends in the gun industry, as he was chronicling his journey into the business. Beginning with his book, Safety On, An Introduction to the World of Firearms for Children, Yehuda was thrust headfirst into the gun world, quickly becoming a voice in Second Amendment advocacy. Yehuda, are you there?
I am here.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Fantastic, man. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Now, first off, did I get your name right? Yehuda Remer.
You did. I know it's a hard name to pronounce. I was on the show with someone else at a show, big name, and for like 10 minutes before the show started, he was like, okay, Yehuda, trying not to butcher it, and he goes live and he goes, boom, butchers it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Well, Dave got it right. Dave Stahl got it right.
How did I do? Because I am the butcher.
Oh my gosh, he could mess like Jack Smith. He'd mess that up, and he got
the
Yehuda
name
right.
I was thinking about too. And they caught me totally off guard because I didn't read it before I seen it. But we are so happy to have you on our show today.
Yeah, tell us about the Pew Pew Jew.
So, like you guys just read, right? So the Pew Pew Jew started off. It started off 2 years after my first book came out. I was looking for a way to educate my children on firearm safety. At the time, we're talking about, 10 years ago. I just bought my first gun. I was married with 2 kids. I didn't live in my parents' house anymore, but I was by their house one time, and my younger brother was like, "Hey man, when are we gonna go shoot your Glock?" And my parents had like a full-on Chernobyl nuclear meltdown. Like, we're talking about like absolute meltdown. I mean, the names they were calling me, irresponsible, and that was nothing. They didn't talk to me for a while, and this whole time I'm like, okay, like
they really like 1911s, huh? Is that the deal?
Exactly, right? Well, what's the difference between a 1911 shooter and a Glock shooter?
What?
45 years in the AARP membership. Right?
Yeah.
So
they didn't like it. They had a meltdown, and they just had it sounded like they had just a guttural reaction, like just horribly horrified.
What has our son done?
They were. Guns were never talked about in my home. Politics were never talked about growing up. I always thought I was a Democrat because, like, you always hear Jews are always Democrats. So that's what I always thought growing up. But at one point, after my parents started having these freak-out attacks against me, I decided I need to start educating my children, not just being a gun owner, but getting actively involved. So I went to the NRA's website. I saw the Eddie Eagle program, but I'm like, it's great, but there's something totally lacking, right? All they talk about is what to do if you find a gun somewhere it's not supposed to be, when all gun owners know there's so much more to firearm safety. So I went to Amazon. I wanted to go buy a book that I'm able to read to my children, and I was shocked that there were no books on the market geared specifically for children, not for parents on how to talk to children, but for children. And
they're probably on the market. It's just Amazon doesn't want you to buy it.
That's what I thought too. But I did so much research, and I did not find anything. And that kind of led me to, I've always loved creative writing. So I kind of read this book. I wrote this book in about 20 minutes on my iPhone, on my notepad on my iPhone, and I sent it to a buddy of mine in the LAPD. I'm from LA originally. I mean, I live in Texas now, but I sent it to him in the LAPD, and he tore it to shreds, gave me the most amazing constructive criticism. And, I mean, it took me 5 years to get it published, but what happened with to answer your question in a long-winded way, I'm now releasing my 7th and 8th book in the next few months.
Wow.
But one of my books called 27 Words, which is a breakdown of the 27 words of the Second Amendment for children. When I was doing research for that, I was talking to a Second Amendment journalist to get his, picking his brain and stuff like that on the history and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you like the Pew Pew Jew. And all of a sudden, like, the little Jewish brain in my head was like, ooh, business idea. And, I called my illustrator. I said, dude, I need a logo that has a Star of David, a gun, and the words, the Pew Pew Jew, ASAP. And that's kind of how the Pew Pew Jew came to life.
Wow. That's funny.
You have a T-shirt?
Oh, I have. I mean, if you go to my website,
You got gear.
tons of T-shirts.
All right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm very self-deprecating, so I have a lot of stuff. Yeah, I have a lot, like, one of my biggest sellers, and I have non-Jews asking if it's anti-Semitic to buy it all the time, even though I sell it, is a big picture of a pig wearing, like, sunglasses and a cigar. It says, gun control is not kosher.
That's a great. Oh, my goodness. I'm gonna have, and that's on your website? I'm getting that shirt.
Yeah, I've got shirts, hoodies. I mean, it's really become a brand that what I had in mind is think grunt style, but I wanted like a grunt style for Jews. I wanted proud American patriotic gun owning Jews to have a place that they can call home and be proud of the T-shirts they're wearing, be proud of the hats and the hoodies, and be able to promote safe, responsible firearms ownership, just being a proud patriot. And that's part of my mission as the Pew Pew Jew.
So, what's your website? Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, Mike.
Not at all. Pew Pew Jew. P-E-W-P-E-W Jew.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that people always forget, it's the Pew Pew Jew.
Oh, sorry. So
no, it's okay. Just, make sure.
Are Jews anti-gun, and that's why they're Democrats, or are Jews Democrats, and that's led them to be anti-gun?
Ooh, good question.
I think it's more. So it's tough, right? Because you have in Judaism, you have Orthodox Judaism, you have conservative Judaism, and I'm not talking about politically conservative, and then you have Reform Judaism. Now, what I'm about to say is not a blanket statement on Reformed or conservative Judaism, but in many cases, you find conservative and Reform Jews to be more left-leaning. Why that is a whole other topic we can get into if you want to, but you find them to be more left-leaning. Orthodox Jews tend to be more Republican right-leaning, and because of that, a lot of Orthodox Jews are pro-gun, but a lot of them just don't want to have anything to do with guns. Or you have Orthodox Jews who own guns and go shooting, but they're not very vocal about it. They're not very vocal about the Second Amendment. They understand the importance of the Second Amendment and what it protects, but they're just not in the limelight. That's where I came in. I wanted to be the voice of the Jewish people in America saying, no, look what happened 80 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. All the gun laws that we see on the books now, we've seen before, and we saw what happened. If you don't get involved now, history is repeating itself, and we need to do something about it.
So the Holocaust was such an enormously impactful and defining atrocity for a group of people, for the Jewish people. I mean, it was to say it was a defining atrocity. It doesn't nearly capture the effect. I mean, it was such. You can't even put into words how extreme it was and how impactful it was on such an entire community. How did Jews, specifically American Jews, how do they explain not being pro-gun with that in their history and with that being such a huge impact? I mean,
I can't speak for everyone.
Of course not. Yeah, but when you have conversations, what types of conversations do you hear?
Well, his mom and dad almost disowned him.
Right.
If he couldn't convince them,
what's the reasoning? What's the reasoning you hear?
I think it stems from a lot of people who, whether you're Jewish or not, we're all in the gun industry, and you talk to people who might be anti-gun, and when you talk to them about it, it ends up being a real irrational fear of something, because they do not have any training, they don't have hands-on. They're coming from a place of, oh, guns are bad, guns are dangerous, guns kill people. Well, yes, guns do kill people. Guns could be dangerous, but in the right hands with the right training, you can save lives. And more often than not, the person dying is not necessarily a good person. It's someone who's trying to do you harm. And when I explain to people, I sit down, I'm like, look, this is what Hitler did pre 1933, going up to Kristallnacht in 1938, and then going into the Holocaust. These are the laws he passed. This is what, the gun grabbers in America are trying to pass. And when you show the parallels, their eyes do begin to open up a little. However, you always revert back to the fact that it's an irrational fear of something because they're not used to it. And then you bring up the whole idea of like, hey, the first time you drove in a car when you were 16 getting your license, you must have been terrified. Like, yeah, but, then we practice. I'm like, okay, so what's the difference? And
it's a good analogy.
Sometimes you can, and sometimes you can convince people, but sometimes it's an uphill battle most of the time.
Wow, that's really interesting. It's interesting that the connection isn't there. It seems like such an obvious connection to gun owners. It's something that we talk about a lot: tyranny and specifically government tyranny over people's lives, and what a difference the Second Amendment makes. A lot of people say, "Hey, we can get rid of the Second Amendment because in this country, the United States, that will never happen." But really, that will never happen because we've had the Second Amendment for so long. We've created a country thanks to the Second Amendment, and the First Amendment, and the Third Amendment, and the Fourth Amendment. Thanks to these protecting these rights, we've created a country where, yeah, you're right, that'll never happen. Stick with us for just a minute. We're gonna go to break.
Hey, the Not Me SD movement is San Diego County Gun Owners' initiative to stop sexual assault and end domestic violence. The sad reality is that these crimes are happening more frequently. As part of our efforts to end the crisis, SDCGO is providing assistance for any woman who owns or would like to own a firearm, seek training, and or would like to apply for a CCW, which is a concealed carry weapons permit. For all new gun owners, we offer help, expertise, and resources. We want you to be successful and understand the decision you made to protect yourself and your loved ones. We are here for you. So go sign up at notmesd.org. All right, we're bringing back Yehuda Remer and continue on.
From the pewpewjew.com, we're talking about all of the things he's done and making an effort to support the Second Amendment. So what are some of the most effective things that you've done, as far as introducing the Second Amendment and the importance of the Second Amendment to your community?
I mean, I try to educate many people in my community. I have an FFL, or I work with a friend of mine who put me on his FFL. So I've definitely, with the rise in anti-Semitism in the country, I've definitely armed a nice chunk of my community by, getting them deals on firearms and giving them a significant deal to make sure that my friends, my family, my community is protected. But more than that, I go around, I speak, like I said, I have 5 books out, all revolving around firearms education, mainly for kids, but a lot of adults need it too. But it's something that I do, just going out there, talking about it, taking people to the range, training them, educating them, and just trying to make a difference in their lives.
So, tell me about the rise of anti-Semitism in the country. What rise since? Is this in the last 10 years, 20 years? And what do you mean by the rise of anti-Semitism?
So you just go to Google and there's news stories every other day about this place being attacked, college campuses with the whole BDS movement and swastikas being painted on synagogues and firebombs in synagogues across the country, and you have, people in New York being accosted on the streets. There was just a couple just a few weeks ago walking, I believe it was Central Park in the middle of the day. Some guy just turned around and stabbed them, a young Jewish couple. You have, Jews being kicked off flights left and right.
What do you think it is? What's behind it? Why is there a rise in anti-Semitism?
Or
does it even matter?
right, exactly. I don't think it really matters. It's something that I talk about also, is that, you have so many Jews out there seeing all these attacks happening, and all they're doing is, they'll make their Facebook logo a little like "Stop Anti-Semitism," or they're calling out anti-Semites, and these people are out there and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry," but let's be honest, are they really sorry, or are they just doing it to save face? Right? The only way to stop anti-Semitism is to fight it head on. And if that means you need to get a gun, learn how to use it, train with it, that's really, and this is my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would say I'm crazy, I'm wrong. No, you need to fight it by calling it out. I'm like, yeah, but we've been calling out anti-Semitism for 3,000 years. It's still here, right? It hasn't gone.
It's not going away
anywhere. Right, exactly. So the only way to fight it is making sure that if someone comes and tries to accost you or tries to stab you, you put them down before they put you down.
Well, so we do these educational shooting socials that are a lot of fun. It's a first-time shooting experience. I work for San Diego County Gun Owners. We're a political organization here in San Diego. And one of the things we do is we put on these first-time shooting socials. And again, it's not really full-on instruction. It's just a first-time experience with an experienced gun owner, someone that's never touched a gun before. We pair them up. It's safe. It's fun. We do it for a lot of different groups. One of the groups that we do it for is a group called Guns and Moses. And Guns and Moses is a Jewish shooting group that and they get together and they train and it's about fellowship and training and it's a lot of fun. But about a year ago, the leader of Guns and Moses started getting a lot of inquiries from new shooters. Brand new people from various synagogues across San Diego said, "Hey, we want to do this," and it's a very different mindset with that group. And I actually explained to the mentors, "Hey guys, a little more serious with this group. This isn't kind of everybody's having fun, but this is purely for self-defense. This is a utility group. They're doing something for a very specific reason, and that reason is self-defense. And it really truly changes, the feeling in the air is different with Guns and Moses. It's really more of they're studying, they're learning, and then they're far more likely to go purchase a firearm after a shooting social than a general group. But it's very much, it's just a different feeling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have people reaching out to me from across the country saying, "Hey, do I know instructors here? Do I know instructors there?" And I, as much as I can, I try to get names out of firearms instructors. I have a friend. She's a great firearms instructor based in San Diego. And, I try to throw her business if there's any Jews that reach me out from San Diego. I mean, I have my aunt lives in Santee. So, I'm an LA boy, so I've been to San Diego plenty of times. So I try to, throw people work if I know that there's a good firearms instructor anywhere. So I know I've been asked by Guns and Moses if I would come and talk to them.
Yeah, you should. That'd be fun.
I would love to. I honestly I haven't been back to LA in 4 or 5 years, and at this point, I mean, I'm in Texas, so why leave? But no, if
help us fight. Get over here. We're behind enemy lines, man.
What,
we need you to.
They won't let you out.
So, Guns N' Moses started out as Bullets and Bagels, and they decided they wanted to they wanted to do a new group, and they were trying to decide a name. They ultimately went to Guns N' Moses, but I tried very hard to get them to call the group Glocks and Locks. I thought that would have been
Glocks and Locks,
right?
So you have to share with them another T-shirt I have on my website. It's a picture of Moses carrying the 2 tablets.
Yeah,
and on one of the tablets it says 2A. The other tablet says God-given right, and in Moses' right hand is an AR.
Okay. Nice.
I can't wait to go to this website.
You know, my sister is Jewish. She married a great guy who's Jewish and converted and didn't look back. And she's just absolutely loves it. And they're very, very observant and very active in their synagogue. And they had a really interesting story. I guess there's a tradition of rabbis that travel from synagogue to synagogue. And I guess originally it kind of started off as a way to, spread news, and they still do it today. Am I describing that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, pretty much like a scholar in residence type of deal. I think that's what we call it. Is you'll fly out a rabbi who is a well-known rabbi, and he'll come and speak to the congregation over the weekend and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much.
So they had a very interesting experience. They had a rabbi come in, and the rabbi really went into saying, hey, you know what? We really need to ban these guns. We really need to strengthen gun laws. It was a major part of what he was talking about. And he was saying that, different synagogues that he'd visited were very supportive of that idea. And my brother-in-law actually, raised his hand and said, I don't agree with you, and started a whole discussion there at the synagogue. And it turned out the entire synagogue didn't agree. And really had a good conversation with the rabbi and said, there's a whole different perspective here, and here it is. And I guess the rabbi that was visiting, thanked them and said, that's not something I had really thought of. That's not a perspective I had really thought of before. But it was very much based on everything you said, what happened in the 30s in Germany and anti-Semitism and, all of it, the whole thing. And it just baffles me. It just baffles me that I don't get it. I don't understand why the majority of the Jewish community, I'm a white male Protestant, straight, like statistically nothing ever bad happens to me. I walk through life, unscathed and perfect. Okay, fine. But I definitely know a lot of women and different, skin colors and different last names. I know a lot of people, a lot of different types of people. And they tell me, hey, this is a whole different world for me. It's a dangerous world for me. And I believe them. If you're a woman, if you're a minority, if you're in a different, religious group or whatever, you need to harm yourself. You need to be able to protect yourself. From one side, they're telling me, hey, it's a dangerous world. On the other side, they're telling me, get rid of guns. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same people who were calling Trump Hitler and then saying that only the army and the military should have guns, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
So, talk to me about you had some interaction with Rob Pincus, right?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about that, because give a little backstory on. We've had Rob on the show, but give just a little backstory on Rob and talk a little bit about the ongoing conversation you've had with Rob.
So Rob and I go back about 4 years when my first book came out, and I was kind of just checking out, who are some well-known firearms instructors and people in the industry. And this was before I knew anybody or anything about the industry. And I reached out to Rob and I said, hey, I wrote this children's book. I would love to get your endorsement on it. Mm-hmm. And he was absolutely no problem. I love your book. And it struck up a friendship. And, Rob and I have been good friends. I don't agree with him on everything. And we've had conversations. There has been times he's called me out. He's called me and said, dude, you can't post stuff like that. And I'll explain my situation and my point of view to him. And he might disagree with me. But, I don't think he's the bad guy. I think he is trying to do something that is different than the way everyone else is doing it. And I think a lot of people.
I think specifically what you're talking about is he's really trying to bridge the gap between pro-gunners and anti-gunners, and I think that he takes a lot of flack for that. I think that people don't like that. Pro-gunners don't like it. Anti-gunners don't like it. Is that kind of an accurate description?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And, like I said, I don't agree with him on everything. I actually don't agree with him on that. As much as I would like to see a bridge, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be a bridge connecting the two. And he knows that, and he knows that's what I believe. But that doesn't mean I'm throwing him under the bus. Rob has been a fantastic ally of mine for years, and I'm not going to abandon him just because I have a difference of opinion.
Nor should you. You guys are both fantastic. Yehuda Remer, the Pew Pew Jew. Go to thepewpewjew.com. Thank you so much for being on the show with us, man.
And I just got a text.
Thank you for having me.
I just got a text. It's spelled Pew, Jew, and you know the rest.
Yeah.
.com.
And the is THE.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget the.
The Pew Pew Jew.
You got it. Hey, folks, this is Gun Owners Radio.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.